Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Alyssa and this channel is about the laws of the universe, specifically the law of attraction. I also discuss building self-empowerment and conquering limiting self-beliefs. So be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so that you don't miss when I upload new content. Also, if you end up liking this video, go ahead and hit that like button so that YouTube makes it easier for this video to find. Leave me a comment and share this video if you find it useful. I know it's been a while since I did a video, so happy holidays if you celebrate. And if you don't celebrate the holidays, I hope you had a great last few weeks. As you can see, there's a change of scenery. I have moved since my last video. Another reason why it took me a little bit longer to post, but thank you guys for your patience. I'm gonna figure out a good scene to do these videos in. This is just kind of the best lighting that I have right now, so we'll figure it out. Anyway, in this video, I want to expand on something that I've touched on from time to time on this channel, and that is the spiritual awakening. And I'm going to be talking about that more because right now at this point in time, more and more people are actually going through spiritual awakenings. They're waking up to who they really are, which is beyond their names, their circumstances, their physical bodies, etc. And you can argue that it's in part because of what's been going on this last year or so. You can argue that it's because people are starting to question their reality and people are realizing that there's kind of been some weird stuff going on, things that you see on the media, and we're kind of realizing that we've essentially been programmed by society to believe certain false things about life and how we should be living it. Or an awakening could be completely spontaneous. Really, anything can lead to it, and it's very unique to each of us. More often than not, people experience awakenings as a result of experiencing pain or trauma in their lives. Sometimes that can be in the form of a tough upbringing or a tough childhood, some sort of abuse, or it could just be a negative experience at some point in life that led to some sort of trauma. Again, it could be a number of things unique to each of us. It could be brought on by countless other things. So a while back, I did a video on 3 negative things to expect from a spiritual awakening, which I'll link in the description box and pin to the comments if you'd like to watch that after this video. But in that video, I do go over what a spiritual awakening is, but then I focus mainly on the seemingly negative aspects of it, since a lot of people who have spiritual awakenings can have a pretty tough time with it. I know my initial awakening was no walk in the park. It did come with struggles that I had to work through since I was bringing a lot of my subconscious baggage to the surface, some of which I'm still handling. So the negative aspects that I mentioned in that video are anger from realizing how our brains work and how society has been taking advantage of that by negatively programming the masses. You may feel bouts of depression and darkness from opening old wounds and having to deal with them so that you can heal and move on. And the third negative thing that I discussed is that you may want to tell everyone about what's going on with you. You may want to share things that you've learned about how our minds work, and that we're all souls living out these temporary existences in these bodies. And some of those people will not want to hear that, and they might reject what you're saying or just assume that you're losing your mind. A couple more seemingly negative aspects of an awakening, which I left out in that video, are loneliness. You may feel completely alone in this phase of your life because you'll feel like no one understands what you're going through. And that's true, a lot of people won't. Some people that you're close with may even think that you're going crazy. So you may be getting this sudden urge to isolate yourself. You may want to move to an island or the woods by yourself where no one can find you and just go full throttle into hermithood. And if you've been through this stage of an awakening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And again, another negative thing that we might go through when we become spiritually awake is something called ego death. You may have heard of ego death, but essentially what it is that your ego sort of goes into overdrive and sort of into a panic. Now your ego is, in the most basic explanation, your humanness. It's what you and your monkey brain perceive to be you, which may be Alan the accountant, Becky the banker, or whatever. It's the physical aspects of yourself and your life that you've identified with and that you think are all that makes up who you are as a being. So when you go through an awakening where you acknowledge your spirit self or higher self, whatever you want to call it, your ego may feel threatened, and you might experience this through anxiety, panic attacks, paranoia, possibly mental breakdowns, and circling back around to depression. And you may honestly feel like your life is just falling apart. This is also commonly known as the dark night of the soul, but I don't see it that way, which is why I don't call it that. Your soul, I don't think your soul goes through dark moments, especially when you wake up and acknowledge it, right? What's being threatened in this scenario is your ego, because you've discovered your soul or higher self. So you may feel like your life is falling apart during the initial stages of an awakening, and I've even heard some people think that they are going to die. And that's normal, and you're not dying. Your ego and your monkey mind is feeling threatened. So it's going into survival mode and acting out to fight for your attention in a way. And by the way, if you do feel like you're having a breakdown and you feel like you need medical attention, don't think it's not okay to seek it. You are, after all, a human being, and it's not unspiritual to get help if you need it, especially in order to get through this rough patch a little easier. There's some confusion among newly spiritual people where we think that since we're going through an awakening, it's not okay to seek medical help because we should be meditating to treat how we're feeling, and medication is bad. So we sort of start looking down on things like that. And while I'm not saying that medication is necessary for you or that it's for everyone, I did start seeing a psychiatrist when I was going through the first stages of my own awakening. And there is nothing wrong with that. I felt like I needed a little bit more guidance to get through that mental angst. So just wanted to leave that there. Please get help if you need it. Anyway, without further ado, let's go over 5 more things you can expect from a spiritual awakening. 1, you develop a spiritual ego, which sounds sort of counterintuitive, but I'll explain. The ego has a couple of different definitions. It could be used to describe someone's sense of self-worth or self-importance. Or like, that guy's got a big ego, right? And it can also be used to describe the conscious human mind, which is how you'll usually hear me using it. So in this sense, a person developing a spiritual ego can have that inflated sense of self-importance because they woke up. This can be a good and maybe not so good thing, depending on how you handle it, I guess. But some people start looking down on the non-spiritual folk, and they do that in sort of a judgy way, like they're better for being more spiritually awake. And I'm guilty of this. When I started realizing all of this, I would look at people and almost judge them for being so obviously unawakened. So if you're doing this in a less than loving way, you might want to switch that up. You can still feel proud for being spiritually awake, okay? You're woke, we get it. But no, seriously, especially if you've already overcome the most difficult parts of being awake, then yeah, you deserve that pat on the back. But direct that energy towards helping versus judging those people who haven't gone through that yet. Show other people what patience is, what love, kindness, and compassion are. You don't have to judge, you can teach by leading by example. Not everyone will wake up, but those who do it on their own timeline when they're ready, just like when you were. 2, speaking of timelines, these are not in any specific order. I just wanted to list them numerically for the sake of structuring the video. Also, you may experience some of these things. You may experience all of these things. Doesn't matter. If any of these things resonate with you and you're seeking out content like this, you're most likely going through an awakening. Anyway, another thing to expect from an awakening is you feel the connection with the rest of the world. This is a big one. You start understanding that we're all connected to everyone and everything in this universe, energetically and spiritually, because spirit is also energy, but you really start acknowledging and feeling that connection. You may start empathizing with other people more, and if you're already an empath, this might start intensifying for you. And this is where that spiritual ego kind of comes in again, but not so much in a judgmental way. You might just start feeling sorry for people in the sense that now that you're awake, you understand that most people aren't, and it really shows in their behaviors and their attitudes. 3, something else that you may notice during an awakening, especially in the initial stages, is that you want to be out in nature. Since you started feeling this connection with everything, you want to be out in nature more. You might be feeling a little bit like a hippie where you just want to ground yourself in some grass and meditate for 2 hours, or run through the woods like Pocahontas singing about the wind and the trees, whatever your thing is. But either way, you want to be around the trees and the flowers and the birdies more. So this is a good time to take up hiking, or more hiking as the case may be, or start going to parks more on your days off. Just find reasons to be in nature, even if that just means walking around barefoot in the grass in your backyard. Anything will help if you're at this phase. Okay, sorry, AC kicked on, had to turn that bad boy off. Anyway, number 4. Another very common side effect of an awakening is that you become sort of ungrounded in your life. A lot of people, when they awaken, they go super spiritual. Some people go full on vegan or start leaning more towards organic food options. They start drinking kombucha. Some people get into astrology, crystals, numerology, all that fun stuff. And yes, those are all good things, but some people have also quit their jobs during their awakenings so that they can sit home and meditate all day. And more often than not, a lot of people start falling down rabbit holes of this information, a popular rabbit hole being that of the law of attraction. And I totally get it, that's the basis of my channel, that's my favorite law of the universe, but the premise of it could be misconstrued very easily, and it has been, unfortunately. So because some newly spiritual people discovered all of this fun, create your reality with your mind stuff, they start going all in, trying to manifest $1 million, their soulmate, a new Tesla, a mansion in the hills, and the perfect body in 24 hours or less, by only visualizing it and taking little to no action. And I'm not saying don't visualize. Visualization is huge in manifesting what you want. I'm just saying that in this phase of a spiritual awakening, a lot of people get lost in focusing on the outer physical or material aspects of life, when this is the time that we need to be going within ourselves and determining what we need to heal so that we can attract those things more easily into our reality. Going back to what I was saying earlier in the video, a lot of people experience awakenings as a result of pain or trauma. Again, not everyone, but for those who have experienced pain or trauma at some point in their lives, healing that trauma is essential in this type of spiritual journey, because in order to make room for the amazing new things that you're about to allow and manifest into your life, you have to clear away the things that are blocking those good things from entering your reality. So I recommend focusing on healing in this ungrounding phase of your awakening. Just shift your focus to healing on the inside so that reflection that you get on the outside matches what you say that you want. The last phase or symptom of a spiritual awakening that I'm going to discuss in this video is acceptance. If you're at the beginning stages where you may be experiencing the dark side of an awakening right now, just know that there is a point where you do feel at peace and you know that everything is going to be okay. After all the emotional turmoil, learning meditation, dealing with your shadow if you've been doing shadow work, you do reach a point of acceptance in your life, even if things are still less than ideal. You may still be in debt, you may not have your dream partner or your dream career yet, but you experience a level of acceptance of what's going on because you've realized further into your awakening that you, your soul self, chose you. It chose you, circumstances and all, because it felt that you were the one that it could learn the most from. So you take responsibility for how your human brain has been programmed, and you make the commitment to change that wiring. Once you reach that acceptance of your current circumstances, you start chilling out, knowing that you're powerful enough to change those circumstances. It just takes some time for the universe to move those components around in your favor, but start doing that inner work to start clearing out that negative programming so that you can allow those positive changes. Something huge that I recommend for reaching this level of acceptance is something that I talk about all the freaking time, which is meditation. You need to clear out the negative clutter of your mind so that you can solve your problems with a clearer headspace and a new energy. And that's something that meditation can absolutely help you with. So that is 5 more things to expect from a spiritual awakening. I hope this video isn't too long, but thank you guys all so much for watching. Quick reminder to subscribe if you haven't. Hit that like button if you liked this video. Share it if you think it can help somebody else. And leave me a comment if you have any questions or anything that you'd like to add about your own spiritual awakening. I would love to hear about that. But anyway, I'm out of here. Please be safe. Much love, and I'll see you next time.